Some bright morning when this life is o'er, I will fly away to a home on God's celestial shore. I will fly away. I will fly away, oh glory. I will fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I will fly away. When the shadows of this life have gone, I will fly away. Like a bird from these prison walls I'll fly. I will fly away. I will fly away, oh glory. I will fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by, I will fly away. Just a few more weary days and then I will fly away to a land where joys will never end. I will fly away. I will fly away, oh glory. I will fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I will fly away. I will fly away, oh glory. I will fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I will fly away. I will fly away. Now I put on a different hat. Good morning. Welcome to Mountain Vista Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Welcome to all of you who are present here today. Our numbers are growing, not only with new attendees and the new members we welcomed last week, but also with the incoming flights of our snowbirds. I notice a few more returning to the nest every week. Rainbirds, excuse me, Hobie. Welcome back. I also want to extend a very warm welcome to those of you who are joining us via Zoom and those of you who may watch the service in the future on YouTube. Let us welcome each other by waving to the camera as Vince pans the congregation. Good morning, everybody at home. Now, please take a moment to greet somebody who is sitting near you with a handshake, a hug, or a warm smile. Hello. This is a welcoming congregation in so many ways. I hope that those of you who have recently found their way here feel welcomed, no matter who you are, where you're from, or what your previous religious affiliation may have been. We are better and we are stronger because we are here together. I'm Deborah Roberts. I'm the lead pastoral associate here at MVUU. This congregation is served by the Reverend Matthew Funk Crary, who is preaching today at UUCT on 22nd Street. This is a Pulpit Palooza Sunday, where the four churches of the Baja Four, that's MVUU, UUCT, Sky Island, Tina's Church, Reverend Tina's Church, and what did I miss? Amado, Borderlands. So today we have the pleasure of welcoming the Reverend Tina Squire, who is at Sky Island in Sierra Vista. Reverend Tina has served at Sky Island in Sierra Vista for 5 years. Many of us remember her from the YouTube services during the pandemic, when she collaborated with the Reverend Sam, Bethany, and Matthew. Prior to that, she was a chaplain in a local hospice for 10 years, and she continues to do some of that work. Because her father was a foreign service officer, she was able to live in 2 countries with him, and then in a third with her husband when he served in the army. As a result of that, she speaks Russian, по-русски. She has lived in Sierra Vista for almost 18 years now with her husband and her 2 teenage sons. We are also very lucky to have Chris Tackett as our music director. You already heard the euphorics, that is U, the letter U, the numeral 4, and the letter X. Open the service, and we'll be singing again a little later on. Besides me on vocals, there is our leader, Dan Oved, on guitar, harmonica, and vocals, Roy Shimio on bass guitar, and Charlie Mack on percussion. What would we do without our crack AV crew? Masterminds Lee and Todd McMealy, assisted today by Susan Alexander and Vincensky on the camera. Thanks for all of you for making this service happen, as well as to our religious exploration team under the direction of Stacy Sosa, our welcomers and hospitality team headed by Joel Yelland, who's also our hymn leader today. It does indeed take a village. Today, we continue our exploration of grief, our theme for the month of October in the cycle of our Desert Ritual Year. After reflecting on the first 3 services of this month, which dealt mainly with grief surrounding death, I began to think about the fact that there are all sorts of grief, and that the experience of grief is not always necessarily negative. I experience grief and sadness every time I drive across the Sagamore Bridge over the Cape Cod Canal on my way home from my annual pilgrimage to the place where my heart resides. But it only strengthens my resolve to come back next year. I feel sadness when I hear my dog sneezing repeatedly, knowing that there is no cure for her chronic rhinitis. But I am grateful for the 10 years of companionship and unconditional love she has provided me. Some of you who are empty nesters may lament that your children no longer live at home. Or maybe some of you may lament that your children do still live at home. There is sadness that the days are shorter now and darkness arrives earlier, curtailing our outdoor activities. But it is getting cooler. We may bemoan the fact that we are no longer physically able to do all the things we did in our younger years, but we discover different things we can enjoy doing. We grieve rifts in friendships because of misunderstandings or events that one or both parties deem egregious, but we are still grateful for those relationships. And certainly, many of us shed tears over the violence and humanitarian crises that seem unsolvable in the Middle East, Ukraine, and in other parts of the world. We may even weep over the impasse that exists in Washington, D.C., threatening our democracy. I'm not sure that I have buts for those last 2, unfortunately. A friend who has experienced a profound loss has decided to concentrate on gratitude, being grateful for all that relationship meant to her and how it enriched and defined her life for many years, as well as gratitude for the memories and all that she still has and will have in the future. Grieving also presents us with the opportunity for a new beginning, a new way of looking at life, a new impetus to grow and move beyond the comfortable and the familiar. Because we give each other all kinds of grief, we experience the joys and challenges of staying in relationship, and that is the subject of Reverend Tina's reflection today. We need the support of our beloved community, whether that be our biological family, our family of choice, or our friends both in the wider world and here at MVUU. Today, we will focus our thinking on these aspects of grief and on the importance of community as we seek to move beyond our sorrow and sadness and grow from our experiences. I had you standing up there for a long time. Our chalice lighting for today. As we light this chalice, we honor the myriad forms of grief that shape the tapestry of our lives. Grief, a universal thread woven into the human experience, is not confined to the realm of death alone. We acknowledge that it manifests in various forms: the loss of dreams unrealized, the end of relationships, the shifting tides of change. As a community, we offer solace and understanding to one another, acknowledging that each journey through grief is unique. May this chalice serve as a symbol of our shared commitment to hold space for all forms of grief, creating a sanctuary where healing can unfold and where, together, we find strength in our collective embrace.
Just trying to be graceful and grab the microphone here so I can pass it on. Opening hymn, number 412 in the gray hymnal, but the words will also be on the screen. I invite you all to rise as you see fit and join us in our opening hymn.
Comes from the Reverend Abby Tennis, who serves as lead minister at the First Unitarian Church of Philadelphia. She's a lifelong UU. She's passionate about vibrant, robustly spiritual urban ministry in a multiracial, multicultural, multi-generational setting. She starts with a quote from Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Kotsk. "There is nothing more whole than a broken heart." My friend, Reverend Deborah Hafner, shares with people that when she reads fairy tales to her children as they grow up, she will skip the happily ever after part. When the epic love at first sight between the princess and prince finally overcame whatever witches and thorny forests got in their way, Deborah would say, "And it's a lot of work, the end." This always struck me as funny, but also left a little knot of sadness in my gut. Part of me wants to believe that a connection's powerful beginning will be enough to sustain happiness forever and win over the "and it was a lot of work" part. It's not. Sooner or later, every powerful new commitment hits a roadblock, a fight with a lover, a limit of our body or skill, simple exhaustion, casual boredom, complicated betrayal. Sooner or later, we wonder whether it's worth remaining devoted to that which used to light us on fire and now leaves us tepid, including our devotion to religious community. Episcopal priest Gwen Burens asks of each seminarian she talks with, "What are you going to do when the church breaks your heart?" It's a question that I return to regularly, because if we spend enough time in this faith tradition or any faith tradition, it breaks our heart. Religious community has broken your heart, it has broken mine. Our hearts get broken in religious community when we become more attached to history than today's call for justice, when we lose sight of our integrity, when we are devastated and nobody seems to show up. The richness that comes from commitment, though, isn't just about one choice, right? We all know that. We must choose each other over and over again, through conflict and through plenty. The hardest moments of life are the moments when we must choose each other, even when our hearts are the most broken. I don't mean we should never end relationships or commitments. In times of abuse or in times when our deepest truth calls us in a new direction, ending connections is what is needed. But it is only when we choose each other again and again, not those who cause us harm, but those who bring healing to the world, that we can cut through the shallowness of our culture that starves our souls. Choosing each other, choosing once more, is the only way we can become fully known and fully loved.
10 years ago, on a cold, dark night, someone was stabbed beneath the town hall light. There are few at the scene, but they all agree that the slayer who ran looked a lot like me. The judge said, "Son, what is your alibi? If you were somewhere else, you don't have to die." I spoke not a word, though it meant my life, for I was in the arms of my best friend's wife. She walks these hills in a long black veil. She visits my grave when the night winds wail. Nobody knows, nobody sees, nobody knows but me. Scaffold was high, and eternity near. She stood in the crowd and shed not a tear. But sometimes at night, when the cold winds moan in a long black veil, she cries o'er my bones. She walks these hills in a long black veil. She visits my grave when the night winds wail. Nobody knows, nobody sees, nobody knows but me. Nobody knows, nobody sees, nobody knows but me.
From that to a time of meditation. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Take another deep breath. And let the weight of your grief settle into the stillness of this moment. Grief, like a quiet tide, comes in many forms. Loss of a dream, a friendship, a part of yourself. Today, let's embark on a meditation to honor and navigate the waves of grief that wash over the shores of your heart. Picture yourself in a serene garden, surrounded by the gentle rustle of leaves and the fragrance of blooming flowers. This garden is your sanctuary, a space where you can explore the landscape of your emotions. Begin by acknowledging the presence of your grief. Feel its weight, its texture, its contours. Let it be here without judgment, allowing it to unfold in its own time. In this garden, you are safe to experience the depth of your emotions. As you breathe in, imagine drawing in the essence of the garden, the tranquility, the acceptance, the resilience of nature. Let it infuse your being with a sense of calm. As you exhale, release a bit of the grief. Picture it dissipating like mist in the warm sunlight. Now bring to mind the source of your grief. It could be a loss, a change, or an unmet expectation. Hold it in your thoughts, and with each breath, allow yourself to explore the layers of emotion surrounding it. Be gentle with yourself. This is a journey of healing. As you navigate the garden of your feelings, notice any signs of growth or renewal. Perhaps there are buds on a tree or the promise of new blossoms. These are reminders that even in grief, there is potential for transformation and new beginnings. Feel the earth beneath you, grounding you in the present moment. Grief may feel like a storm, but remember, storms pass and the sun reemerges. You are resilient, and within you resides the strength to weather the emotional tempests. As the meditation draws to a close, bring your awareness back to your breath. Inhale the strength and acceptance of the garden. And exhale, releasing any lingering heaviness. When you're ready, open your eyes, carrying with you the wisdom and peace cultivated in the garden of your heart.
We have been looking at grief this month, and just from my own experience, there is nothing so heart-wrenching, so life-changing as the death of another person close to me, part of my life. But today I want to talk about the more difficult sometimes, the least. It's a kind of pain that isn't like a clean, sharp pain. It has ragged edges, and it brings out the worst in me at times. And that's when somebody else, or even worse, when I break relationship with someone else. Right? Now, maybe you're new today, and people have been welcoming, and nothing's gone wrong. But I'm willing to bet everyone here has been let down, even just a little bit, by this very community, right? Right? It hasn't always been perfect. We're human. We have limitations in skill and worldview, and sometimes don't realize how set we are in our ways. We bump up against each other, and we hurt each other, and we have passionate dreams that collide with others, right? Who here has never been hurt in community? Raise your hand. After this beautiful meditation, I feel like I'm a real downer. So I want to do a meditation light. I want you just to close your eyes, to take in a deep breath again, to hear the breathing of so many difficult, beloved people around you. To feel your seat and your feet. Keep your eyes open if that's what you need. Just take a moment to feel your whole body and stop breathing in your chest. Feel enough relaxation. Breathe everywhere and deeply. I made you do that because, and you can open your eyes if you want to, or just keep them shut. I made you take that second, because in my life, I have learned the important lesson of meditation for me has been when I am overwhelmed by emotion or racing thoughts, if I learn how to breathe if I spend 20 minutes meditating, I can find that pause between those crazy emotions and thoughts and myself. I can watch them go by without holding on or pushing them away. I can just let them flow. And there's a pause, there's a distance. They are not me. There's a catchphrase now about be curious about them. For me, it's more like be amused by them. Oh no, I'm going there again? Oh, she's flattering me because she really wants. And I think that's okay. When you find that pause, sometimes it's within yourself, and very often it's with other people. Who here has ever regretted taking a tiny pause to decide the best way to act? I find that when I'm looking at the difficult, there are two people I find difficult to read, but are always helpful. One was a rabbi who wrote an understanding about systems theory and being in community, and I actually got to meet him once. Rabbi Edwin Friedman, who used the Bowen family systems. He wrote Generation to Generation, Family Process in Church and Synagogue, but it's also just useful in all areas you come together with other humans. And he's kind of dry and hard, and when I met him in person, I thought he was kind of either really arrogant or anxious around a bunch of feminists. I couldn't tell. I realized he probably was just being strongly himself, and I was a little anxious and read it as arrogance. The other one is Elizabeth Edwards, a lawyer, daughter of a military man who lived all over the world. She was married to John Edwards, and has written some absolutely beautiful books about grief that are very hard to get through. She looks at it with brutal honesty, and I have learned the most from her books about grief. So with Rabbi Friedman, I've learned that when you're in community, the best way to be in community may be to be a good individual first. Maybe you have to take care of who you are first. When other people are incredibly annoying and aren't doing what I want them to do, and it's clearly all their fault, it can be helpful to say, well, I can't change them. So why is it such a problem for me? What is it really bringing out in myself? And Friedman, in his book about what it's like to be clergy, talks about how we're often lightning rods for things because we represent someone's connection to the holy. If you've grown up in what turned out to be an abusive religious situation, we might be the voice of God and we might seem condemning. And I've learned the louder, the stronger the response to me, positive or negative, the less likely it has anything to do with me, right? And more what's going on inside somebody. Often, am I loved? Am I accepted? Am I following the divine in some way? Am I holy? Am I, whatever those questions might be. But each one of us has encountered that. We've taken on a role and didn't realize the power of that role. Being a mother, when you say something, it can really echo, right? Being a father, you're condemned for life by how you might have misbehaved because of the role you took on. When we're in community with each other, there's so much going on that it makes sense to start with ourselves. How can I be a better individual? And Friedman used to try to do family therapy, and then he just realized, I'm going to find the most healthy person with the most leadership skills and work with them. Because if I help them know who they are, what role they're playing in that system, and how to change it, the system will change. I'm actually doing therapy for everyone, but it's starting out in a much healthier place. Each one of us has encountered the craziness and difference of people around us. And I have found over the years that doing personality tests can actually be useful. I kind of figure out what other people are. This summer, I gave my sister the thing, you're not supposed to decide, and I described all these things, and she picked the right one. She was that. She wanted to be perfect, and she was totally controlling. And it was her birthday yesterday. I shouldn't roast her. But I found those very helpful because it makes me understand that's why an introvert is pulling back. It's not because they hate me. They just need some more energy. And the one that I have found most difficult is the most helpful when times are difficult. How many people have ever done the Enneagram? It is complicated, but as one person said, there are 9 types of fool or 9 types of irrationality. And when you start to understand why people act the way they do, in a way you would never act, it starts to make some sense. When I find myself unable to take that pause, when I'm overwhelmed by emotion and self-righteousness, and I know I'm about to do something really crazy, I remember the Enneagram, and it reminds me, oh, I just want to feel loved. That's why this is driving me crazy. And then sometimes I find that pause and step back. There's something else that happens when relationship is broken, especially someplace as sacred, someplace as much of a sanctuary as a congregation. You come with dreams about how the world should be and how we can create that together. And when that's broken, your dreams are shattered. How many of you have ever felt embarrassed that you expected too much of someone else, right? Embarrassed to have had those dreams and that expectation. Well, maybe you had put them in the wrong place, but maybe you don't have to give up your dreams. Elizabeth Edwards' last book was about resilience and about coming to a new normal. And she talks about how you have to accept your new reality first, even if it's less good than the one you had before. A positive attitude is not going to save you. What is going to do this is every day between now and the day you die, whatever short that time is, every day you're actually going to live. You have to accept this new reality, I'm not giving this as a pep talk. You have to start deeply entrenched in that horrible new reality, right? So in 1996, she was sitting with her son Wade, who was 16, with teenage friends, and one of them turned and said, "Hey, Wade, in 30 years, we can use your parents' tickets, season tickets, to that game." And Elizabeth turned and said, "Oh no, in 30 years, when I'm 75, and he would be 46, I guess, I'm going to be sitting there with Wade next to me." But both of them are gone. That dream didn't happen. She died in 2010, and he died in 1996, just a few weeks later. And the rest of her life was spent dealing with that shattered dream, right? What do you do when this beautiful child you've always wanted to be near and watch grow up, get married, have children, doesn't do that? How do you find a new reality? At first, she wouldn't even buy new clothes. You know those irrationalities we have in grief? She believed that maybe God could turn back the clock just a little and Wade could be there. He wouldn't have died in the accident when the wind hit his Jeep and he overcorrected and rolled out of control. And the guy sitting next to him walked away and he died. She thought, if I don't buy new clothes he's never seen, then God can just turn back the clock a little bit She would get mad at people building new things in Raleigh because he would never have seen them. And maybe it's harder to turn back the clock if the landscape has changed. How many of you have had irrational feelings and thoughts in grief? Right? But over the years, she finally realized, I have a new reality. It's not the reality I want. I am not the mother to this teenager, to a living child. I am the mother to my dead child. And she went on and built a computer lab in his memory, and she taught me that most of all, parents of dead children want to know they have some kind of legacy. They move somehow into the future. And she did that for him. And then she had cancer that came back and was terminal. And then you may know the story of her husband and his infidelity. And in all that, she discovered we can't turn back. But if we're looking towards a common purpose, a common dream, she could stay and help him in his 2008 campaign because they both believed in universal health care. They both believed in helping the poor. We can do this together, until she couldn't. When do we know that relationships are abusive and when they're worth saving? Very often it is difficult, right, to be in relationship with each other, but that doesn't mean it's abusive. But obviously there are obvious signs like physical or mental abuse. But Friedman talks about types of anxiety that are really important in community. Communities don't want to change. Systems want to stay the same. If you get a lot healthier, people may try to pull you back into something unhealthy. Have you ever seen that families will have one person sick, and if they get better, they have to pick someone else? There's a kind of anxiety that keeps everything stuck. And then there's a healthy anxiety, where you move it to where it's difficult, but helps people grow. Maybe that's true for relationships. Maybe they're worth all the struggle when they help you to grow, when you have a common purpose, when it's worth it. For years, I served a church in Tombstone. It was very conservative. We didn't have a lot in common. I stayed because I was learning. And after I left, I realized, oh, it took me years to rebuild my self-esteem. That was abusive. They were nice people. They were caring. But it wasn't worth the struggles because we didn't have common goals. We weren't trying to end up in the same place. I could not have performed a same-sex wedding there. Trans people would not have been safe in that building. It was not serving my goals to be with them. Right? In the years since, I have gone to Silver City and helped a Presbyterian church and a UCC church, and now I'm at Sky Island. And I always think about how especially UUs are good at facing conflict head on. And I always think, okay, this is going to be a tough time, but I'm going to learn and it's going to be worth it. A friend of mine who's a minister a few years ago would come to our minister meetings and talk about a dream he had and how his church was holding him back. And this one committee just kept saying no. And we all thought, oh, what a useless committee. They don't share his dreams. How unhealthy. And then one day after 18 months, he came in and he said, you know, they were right. We weren't ready to do what I was dreaming of. They were holding me back, but they were right. And there was this incredible growth and love and bonding when they recommitted to each other, right? We do that. Why am I talking about this with all of you today? Well, of course, your mission is building an open-hearted, welcoming community where we work together in covenant to transform ourselves and our world through love. And how can you be that kind of community if you don't figure out how to work through conflict, how to work through challenge, right? It happens. How do you know when you've been hurt too much and the vision is not yours and it's time to move on? And how do you know when, that tussle we just had brought us closer because I understand that person better now. And I really committed to this dream, and we figured out a middle ground. Why do I think it's important to talk about with all of you? Because we are UUs, and we do complexity well. Friedman talks about you can tell a country is anxious when they stop being able to play. Does that sound familiar? A system is anxious and people are anxious when you only see either or. There are only two answers. There are only two sides. There is always a third or fourth or fifth way to go, right? But does that sound familiar as well? So I'm encouraging everyone here, obviously not to walk into situations where, we're about to head into the holidays. There are people, it does not really that matter that you take on and argue with, right? It's not going to be helpful in any way. But if it is, and if you love them, and if you can push anxiety in a healthful, growthful way, I invite you to take a deep breath, to pause, to try to understand how your irrationality is totally different from theirs, or might be exactly the same. You might be someone who needs to know you're loved, or you might need to know that you do things perfectly, or you might need to know that you're incredibly smart or totally in control, or you serve the underdog. Whatever that irrationality core at the middle of your life, other people have their own too. But I welcome all of us in this crazy world we live in now, this very anxious country we are in, to take a deep breath. Friedman says that we are not going to win people over with a good, insightful argument, right? Has that ever happened in our debates lately? No. We can only reach out to people if we're moving towards each other. We can only reach out to people if the system is shifted. If we're less anxious, if we're clearly ourselves, if we don't react when other people are in our face, we will change the system, even just a tiny bit. So I invite you to be the best individuals each of you can be, because we, in a good old Baja 4 phrase, are stronger together. And we are so needed right now as we head into this fall and into the arguments and debates and the terrible anxiety racking our world. And if you can step back and watch it and find humor in it, then maybe there's hope for this world. Thank you.
Where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time ago. Where have all the flowers gone? Younger, pick them, everyone. When will they ever learn everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn? Where have all the graveyards gone? Long time passing. Where have all the graveyards gone? Long time ago. Where have all the graveyards gone? Gone to flower everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn?
That was fun. I have a couple of announcements before we finish today. First of all, Mesquite Madness. This is our major fundraising effort of the year. And we have one more week for people to sign up to sponsor some kind of an activity. It might be a dinner in your home. It might be a gift certificate. It might be offering to cook a meal for somebody. And there is a table after the service in the Oasis, and with more information. But if everybody in this congregation would volunteer to sponsor one thing, we would do so well. Second announcements. Next Sunday, October 29th, is Table and Treat, where there will be tables set up on the patio that people have decorated, and they will offer treats as people go from table to table, and our version of trick-or-treating. That crew is that Stacy Sosa and Religious Exploration. They are still in need of a couple of volunteers to take charge of a table, which would mean decorating it and providing some treats. And last of all, as you leave today, you will find on the table in the Oasis 2 bowls. The wooden bowl is for the work of this church. It keeps the lights on and the water running. And then the woven basket is our charity of the month, which this month is UU Jazz, and I read their mission. It is to energize people of faith to create an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, socially just life for all of those who live in Arizona. And they're very active with the legislature in Arizona as well. And now we move to our chalice extinguishing.
As we leave, I charge you. You may face new realities, new normals. Your heart may be broken by community. But if you can rework your dreams, find them in a new, more realistic way, then you know you can recommit yourself. And I hope you can over and over again to each other here. I hear these words from the Reverend Kelly Wiseman Aspruth Jackson, co-senior minister at First Unitarian Society of Madison, Wisconsin. I send you out now to share yourself with the world. May its promise and complexity set your mind ablaze. May you hold fast to what your life has taught you. May you question everything. And when you have changed the world, and the world has changed you, may you return again to this place and share what you have learned with us.
I can't have a rhythm section on stage and not use it. This is a piece by Joe Zawinul. He wrote for the Jazz Messengers in the 60s when Nate and Cannonball Adderley were the trumpet and saxophonist in the group. It's called Mercy, Mercy, Mercy. You've probably heard it somewhere before, and I invite you, shake those tail feathers, Come on.